How's it going, everybody? My name is Ted Purchase. I lost 60 pounds in 4 months, and today I'm going to tell you how I did that. But just some real quick notes before we get started. I am not a professional trainer or nutritionist. I don't have a PhD or anything like that. And I'm also not trying to sell anybody anything. So this is just a video of how I lost the weight. And I just wanted to make this because I had a lot of people asking me questions about it, and I figured it would be easiest just to do a video that I could show people. But let's go ahead and get started. And just to kind of simplify things, I broke it down into about 20 different rules that I follow. And I think that for the vast majority of people, if you go by these 20 rules, then you should have some great success. And of course, you're going to need to customize things as you go for you, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different schedule, preferences, all that kind of stuff. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into it. And since there's 20 things on this list, I'm going to be going through them kind of quick. I don't really, if I elaborated on every point, then this video would take really long. So let's go ahead and start with number 1, a caloric deficit. Some people say that you don't need a caloric deficit. That's completely wrong. You absolutely need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. It is the most important, number 1 driving factor of losing weight. However, it's not the only factor. If you just go in a caloric deficit and you eat like garbage and you don't exercise, then you're going to be really hungry, because you're going to have to take in a really low volume of food. You're going to feel like garbage, and you're probably not going to look that good, because when you lose weight, you're going to lose muscle as well as fat. So you're just going to kind of have, you know, the quote-unquote skinny fat body type, and nobody wants that. So caloric deficit, it's not the only thing that matters, but it's definitely, in my opinion, the number 1 most important thing when losing weight. You have to be in a deficit to lose weight. Now, of course, the best thing to do that is to exercise and eat healthy, and we're going to get into that. Starting with number 2, which is to strength train. When it comes to losing weight, everybody says, you know, cardio, cardio, cardio. Now, cardio is good, and you definitely should work in some cardio too, but your priority should be to strength train and try to hit every muscle at least twice a week. So you could do push-pull legs twice a week, so 6 days a week. You could do upper-lower twice a week, so that'd be a 4-day-a-week workout, or you could do a full body 2 or 3 days a week. Personally, I like 3 full bodies. I've tried them all, and that just is my favorite. I think it's the best for beginners too, because it gives you a lot of free days. It's kind of hard when you go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week to have a life, but when you're doing it only 3 days a week, it's not so bad. And so just on a few notes on that, you know, just be safe, make sure you have good form, stop with the ego lifting. There's no reason to sit there and hurt yourself. That's the dumbest thing you could do, is to hurt yourself ego lifting, trying to lift more weight than you can with improper form, and then you get injured, and that's the number 1 quickest way to lose all your progress, is to get injured. I like to stay in about the 6 to 12 rep range for beginners. I think when you go less than that, you have to get really heavy weights, and that can be hard to do. More than that, just most people don't have the endurance to effectively do that, at least at the beginning. Once you become proficient in lifting, then you can start to experiment with lower or higher reps than that. But that's just my general advice. You don't have to necessarily even do like typical strength training with barbells and dumbbells. You could do kettlebell training, you could do bands, you could take a class, just something that works your muscles, you know, something that can help build strength and help you build muscle mass. Because the reason why you want to do that is when you're losing weight, when you're in that caloric deficit, you don't want to lose muscle, you want to lose fat. So if you do strength training, then that will help you keep your muscle, so you only lose fat instead. Tip number 3 is to weigh yourself every day. Some people are against weighing yourself every day. They want to go off of looks or measurements. I think that's a bad idea, because a scale is actually an incredibly accurate way to measure your progress if you know how to use it right. You need to have patience with the scale, and my advice is to, and you have to use it properly. So my advice is to wake up in the morning and go use the bathroom, and then after you get done with the bathroom, weigh yourself on the scale. Try to keep it in the same spot. Try and wear the same clothes. I just wear my socks and underwear when I go use the scale. And then I do that every single day. And then I take my 7-day week, I average them out, and then I take the average from the week and I look and I compare them week to week. Kind of like on this paper right here. I don't know if you can see it too well, but you could see when I first started out here, you know, I started out 317. On my second week, my average was 312, 308, 305, and I kept track. So I lost 4.1 pounds, 2.6 pounds, 2.6 pounds. And because your weight's going to fluctuate up and down during the week, I mean, I have some days on here where I'm gaining 3 or 4 pounds in one day. I think I've gained like 5 or 6 pounds in one day. Your weight's gonna go all over the place, depending on where your water weight's at, and that depends on the food you're eating, how many carbs that you're taking in, and just tracking yourself every day, averaging that out. That can make sure that you are consistently losing weight. And I suggest losing about 1 to 2 pounds a week. At the beginning, when I was much heavier, I was losing a lot more than that. If you're severely overweight like I was, you can lose more than 2 pounds a week. But if you don't have a lot of weight, like if you're not like 40, 50+% body fat like I was, then I'd still stick to 1 to 2 pounds a week, which is what I'm doing right now. So tip number 4 is to use a calorie calculator. The one that I like to use is MyFitnessPal. With this app, I can track all my calories. I can track my protein, my carbohydrates, and my fat to make sure that I'm staying on point. I don't want anybody to be a slave to a calorie calculator for their entire life, but it's not a bad idea to use one when you're cutting weight, especially if you're having troubles at all. Especially if you're new, it's a great tool to educate yourself on how many calories and how much protein and carbohydrates and fat are in the foods that you eat every day. So tip number 5 is to have balanced macros. I'm a big fan of having a balanced macronutrient plan. I like to stay about 40% carbs, 40% protein, and about 20% fat, around there. Sometimes I'm more like 33, 33, 33. I don't try to get my macros perfect every single day. I just try to get them in the ballpark and fairly balanced. And I like to balance my plate out. I like to have a nice portion of vegetables and then a nice portion of meat. And then I also like to eat fruit throughout the day. That's just my general dieting plan. I often get asked if I do keto. No, I don't do keto. I have done it before. I'm not going to get into all the things about keto because that could be a whole separate video. There are some benefits to it, particularly medical benefits, but in my opinion, for me at least, wasn't a great weight loss diet. It's not a bad weight loss diet, but I prefer to have carbs over doing keto. But ultimately, you just have to do a meal plan that works best for you. Some people like keto or Atkins diets better than just what I'm doing, which is basically a balanced whole food diet. So just pick the diet that works best for you, that loses weight, something that you can stick with for the rest of your life. So tip number 6 is to do cardio. Like I was saying, for me, I think strength training should be your number 1 priority. Cardio should definitely be your second priority for working out. It can help you burn fat. It can help enhance your strength training by giving you extra endurance for doing higher rep work. And what I like to do personally is I actually get most of my cardio from my job. I walk a lot every day, so I don't really have to do a whole lot of cardio. But I like low impact cardio when I do cardio. So I just mostly walk, hike, swim, and if I'm in the gym and I want to hit a machine, then I usually hit something like a cycling machine, or I use an elliptical. In the past, I used to think that the only way to lose weight was to go out and jog, so I used to jog all the time at 300 pounds, and it wasn't good. That's not good for your joints at all. So now I have a bunch of joint issues from doing that. So that is tip number 6. Tip number 7 is to stay active. So kind of going into tip number 6, you just want to be moving around. Try not to spend too much time sitting down at any given point in time. If you have a desk job, try to work in just some small workouts or walks to get your body moving. But just staying active and moving around, that can help burn more calories, and then it keeps your body warm, it keeps your blood flowing, so all that healthy food that you're eating is going in your muscles to help repair it, so you get bigger, stronger in muscles. And those bigger and stronger muscles are going to naturally burn more calories just by existing, and they're also going to make you look better by having a higher muscle to fat ratio. So tip number 8 is actually more like a warning and less like a tip. It is that your first 2 weeks of training, about your first 2 weeks, maybe your first month of training, is going to be a little rough. And I just don't want people to get discouraged when they get in the gym and they start working out and they get really sore muscles. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that they go to work out like once and they're like, I can't do it, it's too hard. Your first couple weeks are going to be pretty rough. And anytime you take a break or you switch up your program, then those first couple weeks are going to be rough. You just have to stick through it. Just try to do your best to recover. Stay active, eat healthy, try to keep your body warm. You know, you can do a hot tub. There's a lot of ways to help you recover from that. But yeah, that's just something that you got to keep an eye out for. Tip number 9 is to try to stick with whole foods that aren't processed foods. When you go to the store and you buy processed foods in a can or in a package, oftentimes they add a bunch of unnecessary stuff in them. They add fat, they add sugar, they add starches, they add all sorts of garbage in there, and the processing also takes out a lot of the nutrition. So with my diet, I just try to stick mostly with healthy, natural foods. So just lots of good, healthy meats, chicken, beef, fish, seafood, lots of good vegetables, broccoli, carrots, potatoes, and tons of fruit. And that's pretty much what mostly my diet consists of. And that leads us into tip number 10, is to have cheat days every once in a while, cheat snacks or cheat meals. As far as doing the cheating, that's up to you. You need to figure out what you can do, what you can't do. You know yourself, you know your habits, you know how your cravings and that kind of thing. So that's just something that you have to set up. I cheat all the time. I do little snacks, I do little cheat meals, I have little cheat binges, but I just make sure that once I get done with those, I get back on the horse. Sometimes, yes, I am one of those people that I'll have like a weekend where I ate way too much, and then the week I'll have to cut a little bit extra, work a little bit harder in the gym to make up for it. But that's just my philosophy. That's really what I think that everybody should do. And there's actually a little bit of science behind that, because when you are in a caloric deficit for an extended period of time, your body kind of starts to slow down a little bit. Your metabolism slows down. You have hunger issues, you have hormonal issues, and actually going caloric neutral or in a small surplus every once in a blue moon can help fix all your hormones and get the levels back in order. So don't be afraid to have a cheat day every once in a while. The main thing is just overall, you know, the overall 90% of your diet is healthy. Just make sure the vast bulk of your diet is healthy, and you should be fine to have a cheat day every once in a while. Tip number 11 is to get your sleep in, get your rest, try to get your 8 hours of sleep. You know, I think 6 to 8 hours of sleep is normal for most people. Just depends on your sleeping habits, how much time you need, but try to get your sleep in. It's absolutely critical. They've done scientific studies that showed that people who didn't get sleep, they got way worse results doing the same diet and exercise program that people who did sleep. And yeah, your body, you need that sleep to recover. So personally, I like to take melatonin before I go to bed, and that helps knock me out, helps make sure that I get a nice full night's rest. Okay, so for tip number 12, this one is really important, so I want you to listen up. And this is, do not drink your calories. I do not drink my calories unless it's a cheat day where I have a beer or something like that. But if you want to lose weight, you want solid food. You don't want to get your food from milk or juice or protein shakes. I don't know why people got this idea that a protein shake is great for weight loss, because this is what bodybuilders use to put on weight. So what kind of sense does that make? I don't care what kind of drink it is, if you take those calories and you eat that same amount of calories in apples, you are going to be way more full than you got off of that drink. And just to touch on this, yes, I do diet drinks. I drink Diet Coke, Diet Mountain Dew, and I get the little Mios that you put in your water, and it gives them some flavor. And I got one for electrolytes and one for caffeine. So that I do drink those. I'm not going to get into the stuff about artificial sweeteners. That's kind of a hot topic right now. I think that they're pretty much safe. There's a lot of science behind that. Some people disagree. Maybe there's some science that's still out on that, but we're not going to get into that today. I'm just letting you know that I do diet drinks. Some other people might, but I think that for losing weight, it's much better to do that than to take in sugary sodas or protein shakes or anything like that. So tip number 13 is to take deload weeks. When you do strength training, it's pretty intense on your body, your joints, your muscles, and they need time to heal up. And the day you take off between doing workouts isn't always enough. So it can be a good idea to do a deload week every once in a while, where, you know, maybe at the end of an 8 or a 12-week program, you take 1 or 2 weeks off, where, you know, maybe you could just go out on walks or something like that. That's going to give your body time to heal up. As far as how long to do them or when to do them, it really depends on your body, your age, your intensity. If you feel like you're just really getting beat up and you need a rest, then take a rest. Don't be afraid to do deload weeks. So tip number 14 is actually more about the supplements that I take. So I take creatine, I take beta-alanine, I take caffeine, I take vitamin D3, I take a multivitamin, and because I'm active and a big guy, I actually take a lot extra than what's prescribed on the back of the label. I do fish oil, and and as far as these supplements go, it's like most of these, I've went on and off of them before. It's a pretty minor thing. Most of these supplements aren't going to make as big of a deal as everybody says that they do, especially if you're eating healthy, which I do. I think maybe they make a bigger impact if for people that just don't eat healthy food. But yeah, that's just what I take. And I'd say out of all those, the absolute best one that actually does make a big impact is caffeine. Caffeine, just throughout the day, it's going to help keep your body moving more. And when you take it pre-workout, it lets you push a lot more weight, and it's going to help you get better results in the long run. So if you do one, take caffeine. Tip number 15, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is just to limit your alcohol consumption. It's really difficult to lose weight if you're drinking a lot. Like I said, I just do maybe 1 or 2 beers on the weekend usually. Sometimes I don't even do that. So it's okay to drink a little bit, but I mean, a beer just a 16-ounce beer can be 150 plus calories. So just imagine how many calories you take in if you do a binge drinking night where you drink 6+ beers or more in one night. You could gain like a half a pound of weight just from drinking beers. And not only that, but it dehydrates you, so it's going to just kill your performance in the gym. It's bad for you. It's bad for your body. It's horrible. So really just try to get rid of alcohol as much as you can. I know it's kind of hard because I used to drink a lot more in the past. I drink a lot less now, but just do what you can to limit your alcohol intake. tip number 16 is intermittent fasting. This is something I did in the beginning, but I'm not doing now. It's just something to play around with. And what that is it just means that I can only eat for 8 hours a day. So for the other 16 hours, I can't have any food. And if you do intermittent fasting, I feel like it helps control my hunger a little bit. But for convenience reasons, I quit doing it. But it's almost impossible not to lose weight if you do intermittent fasting, you exercise, and you're eating healthy food, because it's really hard to get in too many calories if you can only eat for 8 hours a day. And I was actually doing 2 meals, so I do 2 big meals about 8 hours apart. So if you're having a little bit of trouble, maybe give intermittent fasting a try. It's far from mandatory, but it's been proven to help a lot of people lose weight. Okay, so tip number 17 is to learn the food pyramid. And no, we're not talking about that crummy food pyramid that you had in school that told you to eat more bread than anything else. We're talking about my food pyramid right here. So if you want to take a look at this, let me get this in frame here really quick. So it's pretty simple, actually. We only have 4 categories. At the very bottom here, we have food that is low in calories, or food that is not caloric dense, but high in nutrition. So some good examples of this would be fruit. Let's put an R in there. Veggies and lean meat. And this is what we should try to take in as much as possible, as foods like these. As we go up from there, we have foods that are high in calories, so caloric dense, which we definitely don't want too many of those because we don't want to gain weight. But these are also foods that are high in nutrition, so that's usually your fatty foods, so avocados, fatty meats, things like that. And then on the other side, we'll probably take in about an equal amount, or maybe even less, of food that is low in calorie but also low in nutrition. So that could be something like popcorn. There's not really a whole lot of nutrients in that, but there's not a whole lot of calories either. There's a few foods like this, but not many. And at the very top, the one that we should be doing the least is foods that are high in calories but low in nutrition. So your crummy processed foods, your Cheetos, your candy, your junk food. So that is the tip, is to use the good food pyramid, not the one that you learned about in elementary school. So for tip number 18 is to be patient. This stuff can take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I know mine went pretty quick, but now I'm slowing down quite a bit now that I've lost weight and I'm trying to lose the last little bit of fat that I have. And maybe you're at that for a starting point. So, this is something that takes time. Like I said, it's just about 1 to 2 pounds a week. So, but if you think about it, if you just stick with that, if you lose 1 pound a week for a year, well, that's 52 pounds. That's actually pretty good. I see people that have freaked out because they said, I'm only losing 2 pounds a week. Well, that's great. That's like perfect. You should be losing about 2 pounds a week. And just don't get discouraged. You got to be patient with this. There's going to be days where you step on that scale and you're 5 pounds heavier than you were before. This is what I talked about earlier with weighing yourself every day. Your scale's going to bounce up and down. There's going to be things like that happen. You're going to have days where you go and eat a bunch of junk food. The key is you can't just give up when you fail. You have to get just right back onto it. So if you have a bad week or you have a bad day or the scale isn't doing what you want to do, don't worry about it. Just get back in the gym, get back in the kitchen, start eating healthy food, start exercising more. You might have to switch things up a little bit. Look at your weak points. Is there a food that's not really that good for you that you're eating too much of? Maybe you can try to cut back on that a little bit. Maybe you can try and cut back your strength training and up your cardio to burn a little bit more calories or something like that. There's going to be times where you're going to need to go back to the drawing board. And personally, this took me about 6 tries in my life. I've been overweight for a really long time, and this is about the 6th attempt that I've had at losing weight, and it's by far my most successful. It's my most successful because I'm more knowledgeable than I ever was, and I'm more patient than I ever was. I used to go and just work out, and then it's like, oh, I've been working out for 2 weeks and I'm barely seeing any progress. Well, might as well just give up. You can't do that. You need to be educated, and you need to be consistent, and you need to be patient if you want to lose weight. So tip number 19 is to learn the basics. Learn the basics of common sense. Learn the basics of science when it comes to nutrition. This isn't really that complicated. Quit eating junk. Do a little bit of strength training. Track your progress. This is all very basic things. Use science. Use common sense. And just to make a note on that, I'll put a link down in the description to Sean Nalawani's YouTube channel. This is a YouTube channel that really helped me out a lot, and I like his channel because it just teaches you the basic stuff, common sense, science-based, basic nutritional and exercise guidance that will help you succeed. So for tip number 20, this is the most important tip, and that is to get out there and have fun. This is a lifetime journey, and if you're hating every step of the way, then you're not going to succeed. I've been succeeding because I've been going out there and having fun. I love my exercises. If there's an exercise I really, really hate, and I've given the old college try, I get rid of it. If there's a food that's really good for you, but I really, really hate it, I dump it. I try to find an alternative to those exercises. I try to find an alternative to those foods. Maybe lifting weights isn't that fun to you. Maybe kettlebells would be more fun for you, or taking a class or something like that. Maybe there's certain foods that are really healthy for you, like broccoli, and you just hate broccoli. Well, don't eat it. Maybe eat a different vegetable. But just get out there and have fun. Stay active. Maybe take up rock climbing or canoeing or something fun like that to keep you active, especially with your cardio. It's good to have a fun activity. Like, I like to walk around and take photos and hike and do things like that. So that is it. Number 20, have fun. The most important tip that there is. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked this video, and if you have any questions or you need help with anything, just shoot me a message and I'll try to help you as much as I can. I know what it's like to need some advice and there's nobody there. So, these 20 tips that I gave you, these are just tips. They're not rules. They're not written in stone. And, you're going to need to customize them. You're going to need to find a sustainable plan that works for you. But I hope these help you, and I'm pretty confident that the vast majority of people, if they roughly follow these tips, they should see some great success in losing weight. And I hope you have a great success in losing weight, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.